This failed Star Trek movie should have been even better than First Contact. When most fans think of Star Trek films in the post-The Next Generation era, two names dominate the conversation: Star Trek, First Contact, and Star Trek, Nemesis. One is celebrated as a high watermark for the franchise, a taut, thrilling story that marries space opera with character-driven stakes. The other, often derided, is dismissed as a misfire, a film that somehow squanders the potential of its characters and universe. And yet, when we look closely, that failed movie had the blueprint to surpass even First Contact. It just never quite pulled it off. The movie in question is Star Trek, Nemesis 2002. Critics, and even some fans, have been harsh. They point to its convoluted plot, the underwhelming villain in Shinzen, and the palpable sense that the story was treading water while waiting for the next franchise reboot. And yes, compared to the sleek narrative and thematic resonance of First Contact, Nemesis does feel like a disappointment. But if we peel back the layers, we see a film that was set up to be not just good, but great. Let's start with the central premise. Nemesis introduces us to a perfect dark mirror of Captain Picard, a clone raised under different circumstances, who shares all of Picard's strengths and talents, but none of his wisdom or restraint. This idea is gold. In First Contact, the Borg represent a faceless, relentless threat. They're terrifying in their efficiency, yes, but they lack nuance. Shinzen, by contrast, could have been a deeply personal antagonist, a reflection of Picard's inner conflicts, his regrets, his fears of stagnation and loss. The potential for psychological tension is enormous. Imagine a Picard who must confront not just an external threat, but the living embodiment of what he could have been under darker circumstances. That's classic Star Trek, philosophical, introspective, and character-driven. The emotional stakes were there, too. First Contact succeeded in part because it gave us a crew fighting not just for survival, but for the soul of humanity. In Nemesis, the stakes are arguably even higher. Shinzen's plan isn't just conquest. It's annihilation of Earth and the Federation. And yet, the movie's execution often feels muted. Battles that should feel catastrophic are contained to a few sets. Moments meant to sting emotionally are undercut by pacing issues or clunky dialogue. The seeds for a story that could rival, or even exceed, the emotional resonance of First Contact were planted, but never fully cultivated. Character moments in Nemesis are another place where the film shows flashes of brilliance. Picard facing his doppelganger should have been a masterclass in acting tension, and Patrick Stewart rises to the challenge. Data, finally exploring the limits of his own humanity and even making the ultimate sacrifice, delivers some of the most poignant moments in the franchise. Worf's struggle with honor and vengeance, Troy's empathy, and Riker's leadership dilemmas all hint at the ensemble storytelling Star Trek excels at. These threads, if woven more tightly and given more screen time, could have elevated Nemesis from a competent finale to a masterpiece. The villain Shinzen's concept is fascinating. A clone of Picard designed to be a puppet for Romulan power plays, who ultimately rebels against his creators. The idea of nature versus nurture runs deep here. How different is a person when circumstances change? How much of who we are is predetermined? And how much is chosen? Star Trek has always thrived on moral and philosophical questions, and here was an opportunity to explore them on a grand scale. Instead, Shinzen's character arc feels rushed, and the thematic payoff is diluted by an over-reliance on spectacle over introspection. Even the film's visual and technical elements hint at untapped potential. The Romulan warbird design is imposing, the space battles are thrilling, and the film's cinematography has moments of genuine beauty. In some ways, it's clear the filmmakers were striving to match the production values of First Contact, but without the careful storytelling and pacing that made that film shine. The pieces were all there: action, drama, moral complexity, and character stakes. What was missing was the alchemy to make it cohere into something greater. So, how could Nemesis have been better than First Contact? A few changes could have made all the difference. First, Shinzen needed more time to breathe, to reveal his motivations, to challenge Picard in ways beyond the physical. Second, the plot could have leaned more heavily into psychological tension rather than interstellar spectacle, letting the characters' inner battles drive the story, as they often do best. Third, the film could have embraced its darker, more introspective side. First Contact is thrilling because it balances action with emotion. Nemesis could have amplified that by pushing the crew to their limits, morally and psychologically. Ultimately, Star Trek Nemesis is a tantalizing what if. It had everything required to surpass First Contact: compelling characters, high stakes, philosophical questions, and emotional resonance. It faltered in execution, leaving fans with a sense of missed opportunity.